This is a Sports Catastrophe production.
Hey there, hello there, it's Jeff Cutastrophe welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe on this day. And on this day, January the 3rd, in the year 73, almost 50 years ago, a legendary purchase was made. Yes, the newspaper article says it all. That CBS, yes, that CBS sold the New York Yankees for $10 million. You be thinking $10 million isn't much. But remember, this is almost 5 decades ago. So anyway, the history of the New York Yankees is a little bit convoluted in a sense. From Colonel Jacob Rupert to Topping and Webb being owners. Things look good for the Yankees. They were a dynasty. They were accused of having the Kansas City owner, the Kansas City Athletics owner, buy a controlling interest in Yankee Stadium and Newark Stadium, which was basically the Yankees' farm. No, Kansas City was where the Yankees had their farm system before the A's moved to Kansas City from Philadelphia, so that Kansas City could host Major League Baseball. Because there were a lot of trades between the Yankees and the A's. Basically, the Yankees would trade old legendary players to the A's for young talent and all that. That's how they got Roger Maris and dumped off like Billy Martin and Slaughter. But anyway, yeah, there was a lot of argy-bargy between the Yankees and A's. A little bit of collusion, don't you think? I mean, I know Kansas City was New York's farm team, but still. So anyway, the fact of the matter was that the Yankees were up for sale. They decided to sell to CBS, that network. CBS would broadcast games on their channels in New York and all that. However, this was the time that the Yankees were falling flat. After 64, when they lost the final to St. Louis in Game 7, they were just flat as can be. 66 was one of the worst. In fact, only 400 fans were at the game. And Red Barber actually decided to have the TV cameras pan the stands for over the 400 fans, which was rare because TV cameras at that time usually focused on home plate and didn't really focus on the stands at times. But the stands were really empty and all that. Red Barber got fired from the Yankees because of that, but he didn't care. The Yankees were a mess in the late 60s, early 70s. How many good players were there? Mickey Mantle was at the end of his rope. Maris was traded to St. Louis in 67. And then he ended up winning a World Series title. They were a hot mess. And they weren't the dominant juggernauts they used to be since the 1920s. But George Steinbrenner, who owned a shipbuilding business in Cleveland, decided, hey, you know what? I want to be a baseball owner. The Indians said no to him, so he took the Yankees. So him, Michael Burke, and many others would pull it themselves in for 10 million smackers. The winner would face great odds. George Steinbrenner bought the Yankees, so he's a major league owner. Unfortunately, Steinbrenner got a lot of trouble for his contributions to Nixon's campaign and got himself booted for a little bit. However, under Steinbrenner's rule, the Yankees still did pretty well for themselves. They were on the comeback trail. 76, they got to the World Series, but got swept by the Big Red Machine of the Reds. However, in the year 1977, the Yankees won the title. Yeah, they got Reggie Jackson, and there was problems between Reggie and his teammates and manager Billy Martin, but the Yankees overcame those problems when that famous Game 6 with Reggie hitting the 3 home runs to win that game. And then they won in 78. Steinbrenner would see the Yankees fall in 81 to the LA Dodgers, even though they had a 2-0 series lead. By the mid-80s, the Yankees were decent, but they weren't really superstars. They would try to buy themselves some talent in free agency and all that. Dave Winfield didn't really work out that well. Steinbrenner got himself a 2-year suspension from baseball because of him trying to hire this lowlife by the name of Harry Spira to try to destroy Dave Winfield's credibility because he wasn't getting his money's worth and all that. The joke was on the Yankees. Steinbrenner was out for 2 years But then this actually created one of the best moments in Yankee history because they drafted young players and they wanted to keep the young players instead of dumping them off for older players to buy a pennant, if you will. So the Steinbrenners, so George Steinbrenner was back in '93, but he ran the ship and he did okay in a sense. Like he didn't alienate as many people in the '90s as he did in the '70s, but still, he was a pain in the butt. Although that pain in the butt got the Yankees World Series titles in '96, '98, '99, and 2K. Unfortunately, George Steinbrenner's health would fail him and would die, I believe, 2011, I think, during the All-Star break. But anyway, yeah, his son took over the business, and then he died not so long ago. Now it's, I believe, Michael Steinbrenner who's the owner. But anyway, George Steinbrenner bought the Yankees and brought them into prosperity. And you can't beat that. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adu.